Today I'm joined by Peter Brooks, Assistant Provincial Grand Master for the last 5 years, and he'll be hanging his Provincial Grand Master coat up, if there is such a thing, in May 2023. Peter, tell me what you've loved about being Assistant Provincial Grand Master.
It's been an absolute privilege and an honour, Chris, to have been invited to take on the role. It was a great shock, but I have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed meeting many of the other brethren around the province, representing the executive, and indeed being privileged to visit other provinces too, and make a lot of friends in the process.
How did you feel when the boss man asked you?
Well, I was shocked. Can't say more than that.
When did he
Absolutely
ask you?
shocked. Well, if I could just go back, I had been the communications officer for 4 years, and I had said to my wife that when we get the new Provincial Grand Master, if he asked me to be the Provincial Communications Officer again, I would decline, because there was somebody who was far, far better at it than me, in the person of Stuart Piercy,
Top man.
and he would do the job and not me. So when I got the phone call, I took the call, obviously, and went back, and my wife said, "You look rather pale, what's the matter?" I said, "Well, the new Provincial Grand Master has just been on the phone." She said, "Has he asked you to be the communications?" And I said, "No, he's asked me to be an Assistant Provincial Grand Master." I said, and I'm just absolutely shocked. She said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I really don't know." And obviously, as ever, she's been a tremendous support in my Masonic journey, and quite rightly said, "Well, you won't get asked a second time." And so I gave it a little bit of thought, rang and spoke to Dave Wheeler, and agreed to take it on.
She obviously must like ironing white shirts, or I'm sure you do it being a new age man yourself, but you must be out an awful lot.
Well, yes. That said, it's been once this week, literally, and some weeks it could be maybe 3 times, but it's not so much that, it's what goes on behind the scenes, quite frankly.
It's almost the daytime job, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Sometimes friends have said, "Well, in retirement, shouldn't you be getting a little part-time job? You know, cost of living increase and everything." And I said, "Well, I've got a full-time job. It's called Freemasonry."
Do you think someone who had a full-time job could do the Assistant Provincial Grand Master role?
No, I don't. No. I think because there is so much that goes on, and it will, I'm sure, increase as time goes by, as we have now this new strategy for Freemasonry for 2022 and beyond, the membership challenge and various other initiatives that are being introduced, all for the benefit and the furtherance of the craft, and but they require people to implement them.
Interesting you talk about membership. Under your remit has been communications and membership and mentoring, which
Correct.
If you think about it, is a natural progression. Communications grabs their attention, membership gets them in, and then mentoring keeps them in.
Yep.
What have been the challenges of communications in the last few years, and what has the province done to meet those challenges and actually succeed?
I would say that there hasn't been so much of a challenge as an evolution, because now we are all very much familiar with social media. We are familiar with the internet and all that entails, and so what we've done is to take advantage of it and to utilize it. And so whilst we have a provincial website which is open to the public, we have a Facebook page, we have Twitter, and there are probably 3 times as many people following us on Facebook as we have members. So it's a modern way of communicating, and we are taking advantage of it.
An awful lot of Freemasons, especially the more mature brethren, would say that we're almost putting our wares on the line, if you know what I mean, by talking about Freemasonry on social media. Is that a fair comment, or?
We have nothing to be afraid of, nothing to hide. Why should we not let people know that we are a force for good in the community? And for example, at the moment, I think our Masonic Charitable Foundation, which administers charity nationally in England and Wales, at any rate, for ours, are giving to other charities and support something like £60,000 every day.
That's a lot of money.
And that's all been raised by Freemasons themselves.
Moving on to membership, we have brought in 150 members in the last year in Lincolnshire, but unfortunately 200 have unfortunately resigned. Let's look at the membership part first, then we'll move on to the mentoring and the retention. What have you seen in the province that works particularly well to bring in new members?
There's no doubt about it that, again, using the social media channels, young men today use social media very naturally. It's their first port of call. So if for whatever reason they get an interest in Freemasonry, unlike when I first joined, at the recommendation of a friend, and thinking, well, if he likes it and he said I'll like it, you put your trust in them. Now the younger generation, they research it and they come in knowing an awful lot more, and as such they are more inclined to stay.
Well, I've just learnt this statistic out that people who come who are not sponsored, i.e. they've come from the internet, are more likely to stay members.
Yes. Yes.
Shocking, amazing, isn't it? So what responsibility do you think, if you're bringing your mate in, to make sure they're a little bit more, how would you say, stickier?
I think if you're bringing someone in the traditional sponsored route, as we might say, then it's incumbent upon you to make sure that they are very much aware of what is involved, both in terms of time and money, commitment and such like. Because if, like, as I said, when I came in, you came in just on the recommendation of friends, how was I to know whether or not I would take to it? As it happens, I did, and I have, and I've been very pleased to have done so. But if people come in not knowing, there is that opportunity, that possibility that, of course, they'll say, well, you might like it, but sorry, it's not for me.
I must admit, in the first few years, I thought it was all a bit strange, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
it clicked.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't had the support in my lodge, I'd have left. And I think it's important, especially if you're bringing in younger members, is that you pack them together and,
Yes. Yes.
someone said earlier on that joint ceremonies, in terms of the initiations and the passing and the raisings, do actually make the candidates even, a lot stickier in terms of staying.
There's a bonding.
I found that really strange, but
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yes, yes. We've seen this, that there is a bonding. Even if people didn't know, if the people didn't know one another before they came in, they very quickly get to know one another, and they will stay as they progress, if they choose to, through the offices in the lodge.
Moving on and talking about the mentoring, what can mentors do better in their lodges to ensure that they keep their members?
Lodges have a membership officer and a mentor, and it's up to the mentor to allocate personal mentors to the new members, because it's only right that they should have guidance, explanation, answer their questions, keep them engaged, make them comfortable. If you were to join a new business, a new commercial company or whatever, you would expect to have some sort of mentor, some sort of help, some guidance to feed you in, wouldn't you? So why should we be any different?
So it's not as if we're a corporate entity, but we run the business as if it was all the good parts about being a corporate in terms of the structure and the guidance and the training and the development to ensure that we
Indeed, indeed.
because let's be honest, in business you don't want to be losing staff, and we don't want to be losing brothers, do we?
The staff are your most valuable commodity.
And our
And
brothers are.
if you've gone to the trouble to attract new members and grow lodges, why would you not want to do your best to engage with them and retain them?
What would your message be to the more mature members who, sit together in little cliques? And I say that nicely, in groups. Let me rephrase that. Should they be interacting more with the younger brethren, or is it beholden on the younger brethren to interact with them?
I find that it happens naturally. I find that in Freemasonry, you could be a 20-something and you could sit next to and be talking to somebody in their 80s. And it's a valuable experience.
Very much so.
And vice versa. The older members, they can learn from the young ones. And something that I, again, have got out of Freemasonry is the number of people from all different walks of life that I've met and shared experiences with. And that's been a valuable lesson in life, something that I would never have had outside of Freemasonry.
It's almost beholden. I know there's an awful lot of lodges that have seating plans. It's the chief steward's job of setting the seating plan is absolutely a vital role in making those relationships work.
Yes, there will always be people that prefer to sit next to their long-time friend, or certainly if they've brought a guest. But generally, I think people are happy to mingle.
Peter, on behalf of the province, I'd like to say thank you for your tenure as Assistant Provincial Grand Master. It's obvious that you've enjoyed your 5 years. You're going to be hanging up your chain of office in May 2023.
I shall.
Who are you passing your chain on to, and have you got a message for them?
Yes, I shall be handing over to David Bird, and he will pick up the mantle, and I'm sure he will take the job forward. He's a very experienced Mason anyway, and I wish him all the very best. I know he will enjoy the role, and I don't doubt he will not need any advice from me, but I'm, as ever, willing to give whatever support and information I can from the backbenches.
Thank you for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you.